How's everybody doing out there in COVID land? Oh no, I lost my camera. Obviously, I'm barely hanging on here. Yeah, so how's everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing all right. Okay, so lots of news. Um, During the Christmas break, I had an opportunity to kind of dabble in one or two freelance projects on the side. But more on that later. Unfortunately, I can't go into too much detail because I'm under what's called a non-disclosure agreement or an NDA. But again, I'm bringing the stuff here and teaching you guys. Okay, so first order of business, I think. Let's talk about the schedule, right? So there are a few changes that I'm going to need to make to the schedule to take into account sort of the changing circumstances of COVID. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So this first week will be a little bit hunt and peck and a little bit of trying to find my feet again. The other point of news is that this PC that I'm currently broadcasting on forced a reinstall of Windows 10. So you'll see some noticeable changes on the desktop. As well, I couldn't get my mic working in time for this morning. So we've got this one that's got... Actually, I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to call attention to it because then that'll be the only thing that you fixate on. Or is it too late? I think it's too late. So yeah, I'm trying to work out some technical issues. I had to reinstall Streamlabs OBS and all that kind of stuff. Now, those of you who know me know that I'm a big fan of not reinstalling anything, least of all Windows. I think if you were in a situation where you have to reinstall Windows, you're not technically savvy or software savvy. And there's always a software solution. There's always a workaround or a hack around. There's always latent data that you can clean out. There's always something happened that I could not figure out, and it forced the reinstall of Windows. It went into this permanent automatic repair loop, which I managed to get out of the automatic repair loop, but then it threw me into something else. I can't remember quite what it was. I did everything. I had Linux on a USB key, and so I fired up in the Linux operating system, and I made registry changes inside my Windows directory from Linux, and everything. I spent days on it. And so it just sort of necessitated that. Okay, so the other thing that to talk about is to welcome new people who have joined in this online class and session, and say that we do have a connection with Discord. So the Discord server is primarily where we're going to meet, right? So a lot of times you can either ask questions in the Discord text, or you can jump in on the audio video sort of group sessions, and Discord is the primary place where we meet online, right? So there are a couple of ancillary surfaces. Obviously the Twitch stream is something that supports the Discord sessions as well. So you can always link back to this and check it out. My Epic Cam keeps turning on and off. Man. You know, you just leave technology alone for like a month, and you come back and it's just utter chaos. Right. Okay, so that's that. The F-Track, there are issues with F-Track in terms of exchanging assets and things like that, feedback review, change control process, all that kind of stuff. There's a few people ran into some F-Track issues. I will sort that out this week. Okay, so that's coming up as well. What else have we got? So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So all the assignments have come through. That's all kind of being collated, and I'm going to sit down and slog through it and do my assessments and feedbacks and all that kind of stuff. Aha! I got my one viewer. Hey, whoever you are. Okay, so the title of this one is Virtual Production, right? So Sorry about all the preamble in the beginning, but that's more for those of you who are outside the university or just popping into my Twitch stream. That was just more for my students and more about me trying to get my rhythm again. All right, so let's talk a little bit about virtual production. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of dive right in because there's enough information out there. A lot of you guys may have heard a lot of news about The Mandalorian and quite a few different things that deal with sort of virtual production. In a nutshell, it's using Unreal to create in-camera, high-quality visual effects that you can use in a live-action context. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through some of the tests that I need to do to figure out a few different things, right? So one of the big things is that, Evalian Lover 31 is now following. Thank you. Thanks. I thought I was being rather boring this morning, so thank you. Hey, how's it going? So, what I'm talking about today is virtual production stuff. And this is based on the work that I'm kind of doing sort of on the side. I was approached with this question of, is it possible to create a situation where I could just control a virtual camera with an iPad or some sort of device like that, and be able to preview what am I going to make? I'm not making anything today. Unity and Blender, awesome, really, really good combo. A lot of my friends work in pre-visualization and in virtual production, and they use Unity, but I'm more familiar with Unreal. What I'm going to be doing today is connecting Unreal Engine with a very, very simple test to an iPad. Now, you guys are going to be walking with me real time because I tried this setup previously in studio and it wasn't quite working. So I'm going to try and problem solve it today. But at the same time, I'll walk you through what I was looking at. Now, the best thing to do when you're setting up technology is to isolate individual problems at a time and get those working. You want to make a movie or animation? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Well, you're living in an awesome time period, right, where there are so many digital tools available for you guys to be able to produce stuff and distribute stuff on your own at a very, very high quality and a high level, right? So there's what was the name of the YouTuber? There's a YouTuber. YouTuber who does these Minecraft animations that are just amazing. Oh, you know what? I posted the clip on the Discord. Oh, Iceland! Hey, how's it going? Right on. Okay, so let me pop into my Discord. And one quick sec here. Just going to bring up. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, there we go. All right. So check this out, right? It's a good place to start. I know I'm segueing a little bit. I was going to dive into talking about virtual production, but we'll get to that. I think this is pretty important. Let's skip that ad. Okay. I don't know if you've seen this. I won't play the whole thing. Yeah, I got a Discord server now. There's a lot of cool stuff happening in this. Like a lot of cool stuff in terms of shot design, editing, pacing, transitions, wipes. The music, the shot choices, the timing, camera shake, flash frames. That's a nice angle. Use of environment to enhance storytelling. There's a lot of sophisticated stuff going on in here.
Now this is the vault. I am ready for revolution, boys.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that, right? That's very, very cool stuff. But my point about this is, from my standpoint, from my experience of 15 plus, almost 20 years of experience in the entertainment industry, this is a high quality professional level 2D animatic. I mean, this is what concept artists get paid to do for games, animation, film, right? And this person's doing it for free with all the tools that are available that are either open source or free, like OpenToons or Blender or whatever it might be that this person is using, and then accessing a distribution channel like YouTube or Vimeo, which no time in history have you guys out there as independent artists have had the access to a global international distribution channel such as YouTube or Vimeo, right? The biggest thing that stopped a lot of us when I was younger in terms of being an independent artist or an independent filmmaker was distribution. I mean, we could figure out a way of getting all the equipment that we needed or find some kind of budget to help finance certain things and get actors and all kinds of stuff. We could eventually figure out through blood, sweat, and tears how to make a film, but then we couldn't get it to anybody, right? We had to take it through the festival circuit and all that kind of stuff. Can you join the Discord server? Yes, you can. I believe there's no limit on the invite, but if you have a problem with that Discord server, just let me know. I'll put a refresh link on there and you're welcome to join it. Right? But yeah, so back to distribution, right? Now is the perfect time for you guys to get your stuff out there, to get noticed, to get seen, to get an audience, to get a fan base. Obviously, with distribution channels such as YouTube and Vimeo, there's not like huge returns like you would get off a television show or a film. But that never really drove me as an artist. I don't know if it drives any of you. And I've dealt with quite a few Oscar winners, actually. And they're still just driven by passion. They're not driven by awards. They're not driven by money. They're not driven by fame, power, any of that. It's just this urge to tell a story burning a hole inside your chest. Everyone's driven by that. So, yeah. All the tools are available to you guys. Screenplay. Oh, awesome. Excellent. There's another piece of software that I can recommend as well. It is called Writer Duet. I use this quite a bit. Writer Duet is awesome. Right? So Writer's Duet is an online script writing utility that uses all the industry standard file formats and structure and all that kind of stuff. But the cool thing about this is that I can write at my PC, on my iPhone, on my iPad, on my laptop, anywhere. And it accesses the same script files, and it's always there, it's always online, right? Oh, you use Writer Duet. Yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. Yeah, possibly. You know what? I've got like 4 or 5 collabs at the moment. So I'm a little bit on the busy side. But that's cool. That's cool. Let me pop back into this. Let's talk a little bit about what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so again, you guys are going to be seeing real time what I'm trying to put together here. Okay, so I'm going to start from scratch. And what I want to do is I want to create a context for a test bed. Now, I'm not creating the previs animatic that was assigned to me as part of my brief. All I want to do is connect Unreal to my iPad, which I was having issues with. We'll talk a little bit about that. And it has nothing to do with not really being familiar with how to use the tools. I'll talk a little bit about that. A lot of what we're looking at now is very much in beta stage. Right? So with Unreal Engine, I'm just popping open. You know what? I'll take you right from the beginning, right? So you got Unreal Engine here, and I'm using 4.26, or I should be. I hope it's the right version anyway. So let's pop it open, right? Yep, 4.26. So that's the new version. And in here, we've got select a new project. So I'm going to film, television, and live events. Now, what this does is it gives you the structure of blueprints that allows you to get going. But there's a couple of issues with this. Contrary to what the help pages say, it's not as straightforward as the Unreal documentation says, right? It's, as long as you understand you're getting a framework, right? All the blueprints and functionality are available for you. But what that means is, to a certain degree, you have to connect a few things up. You have to think about how you want to structure yourself, and you got to sort of put a few things together. Right? So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to create no starter content, right? Because again, we want to reduce as many of the factors as we can when we're trying to figure something out here. Right? And I'm going to disable ray tracing for the time being because I don't have an RTX card yet. That's my next big purchase goal. Okay, so I'm going to pop over. I've got my web drive, which I've talked about to death in other videos about connecting to my Google Cloud and having it appear as a drive letter mapping. And I'm going to pop into, oh, if I go in here, it's going to give away what I'm working on. Okay, so I'm going to go in here instead. And let's find a good place to, oh, I don't have a, I'm going to create a new folder for prototype. And we'll pop in here and create a folder for my real-time prototypes. And in here, VR. Hey, kiddo, what's going on?
Good.
Hey.
These are for me.
Are they? Well, I got one too. I got one too. See you later. Okay, so we're into here, and this first test was my VertViz. Okay, so I'm going to pop in here, select that folder. This project will be test1 connect underscore iPad 1. Oh, too long a project name. I'm going to call this T for test1, or TST, test1. Yeah, let's create that. Okay. I got my trusty iPad here. So while that's loading up, one of the things that we need is a software bridge on this that will communicate with Unreal, right? So Unreal has, here, I'll show you. Let's just get in here. Unreal has an application called URemote, right? So I'm going to click on that, right? So on any kind of iDevice like an iPhone or an iPad, and I think there are Android versions of this as well, you just need to download the Unreal Remote Connect app. I think it's version 2. Yeah, they're up to version 2. Now, there's a caveat about this, right? First of all, the UI is horrible. It just has like that connect window, and when you click on it, it doesn't even tell you if it's connected or not, right? So it's really, really hard to tell whether or not you make a connection with Unreal. But we'll work through that. You'll see what's going on. I'm just walking through this while Unreal is creating a project and opening up. Now, the thing about this app is it's generally 2 versions behind the Unreal Engine, right? So one of the things that, after banging my head against the wall for a good day or so, one of the things that I had to download was this app over here called TestFlight. And I had no idea about this, right? So TestFlight is an app from the Apple Store that allows you to test beta apps that won't appear in the App Store, right? So it's like a hidden App Store for developers to sort of post their beta versions of all their software, right? So this version of the Unreal Remote 2 is version 2.1. It expires in 55 days, right? But it's got the most up-to-date framework to connect with 4.26. So I did do a brief test of this yesterday. It wasn't working, but I'm going to test it again today and see if it works. Now, after all that preamble, this is just an app, right? All it does is well, basically, it opens up a port and sends a signal to whatever IP address I specify, right? So in this case, it's my router's specification. It's the 192.168.1. Whatever, right? And generally, well, your router has that external IP address and then reassigns all these local IPs, right? So that's why we all have the same 192.168.1, whatever, right? Because it's our router that has our true IP destinations, right? But we're inside this enclosed LAN, so that's fine, right? So the colon and 0 is I don't know if you can see that, actually. You might not be able to see that because of the glare, right? But you put in your IP address and a colon and then a port number. And in this case, it's 0, right? And the best way to think about a port number is like a radio frequency that you tune to, right, on your radio dial, right? It's just a reserved port for a piece of software to communicate with another piece of software or hardware, right? Let me put that to the side. Holy cow, this is like 33%. It's like a blank project. Not sure oh, I know what's going on. It's because I'm saving to the cloud. So we got a little bit of latency as it's sending project data to the cloud. It's a good opportunity for me to talk about how I have that set up. So, those of you guys who have tuned in my stream regularly, right? You've seen me talk at length about Ray Drive. Ray Drive is awesome, right? So what Ray Drive essentially does, and it's free and it's open source, it allows you to map your cloud drive, like your Google Drive or your OneDrive or whatever it is, to a drive letter, which means it will appear in my Windows Explorer as another hard drive on my PC, right? So there it is. It's my W drive, and I see my folders, and I can interact with it just like I would any other hard drive inside using Windows Explorer, except it's streaming data real time to my cloud. It just presents it like another hard drive. I love it. It's great. So that sort of gets rid of that old workflow of having to kind of work on your stuff and at the end of the day upload it to Google Cloud. Either that or you have to download Google's cloud application, which decides where it wants to go and creates a folder for you. And okay, so this is creating a project. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to my Be Right Back screen because I'm just going to load up on some coffee. I'll come back and hopefully this will have done its thing. So I will see you guys in just a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, that took a lot longer than I thought. So, but we should be good for the rest of this sort of session. You know what? It's still creating a project. I'm going to cancel this because that's no good. I think it might have to do with latency issues going online. So let's see if we can get out of this guy. It's locked up a service. So I'm going to have to force it this way. Yeah, it's not responding. So let's end that. And we'll kind of pick it up again after that. I think one of the big things of working with digital art is you have to be kind of intimately familiar with your PC or whatever device that you are kind of currently using, whether it be a Mac or a Linux box or what have you. I'm just going to turn down my audio. Just because there's a feedback and it's sort of distracting me, so I'm going to turn this down. I don't think I really need to hear anything just yet. And it's not affecting my mic levels, so that's all good. Hopefully that's good. All right. It's not ending the task, so we're going to have to go to the details rather, and we're going to have to end the process tree. That kills everything. Operation cannot be completed. Access denied. Ah, no, don't tell me we're stuck here. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to try again, but I'm going to try and create a local copy. It is just a test, so I do like to keep all my tests in one place, just so it references the same kind of project folders. But I just want to get this connection working. All right, so pop back in here, virtual production. This time we'll go to one of my local drives. Get a nice big, let's go into the projects drive. And no, let's go into the media drive, pop in here, and create a folder for my prototypes. Here, real time. Yeah, generally, just because there's a lot of crossover with animation modeling, visual effects, and things like that, CG software, nowadays even compositing, between real time and what we used to call offline. It's good to separate the two because the two have very different technology demands, primarily to do with optimization. Right? So, okay, so I call this what? Test 1. Connect iPad 1. So this should go a little bit quicker, I think, in terms of creating that. Oh, right. So, sessions 2, 3. Man, it's been a crazy Monday. I swear to God, you know. I feel like I spent most of the morning, it's like 11:30 now, most of the morning just sorting out technology issues. I haven't actually done any real work, and that's really sort of bothering me a little bit. So the one benefit of doing this, well, actually, I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing here. So with virtual production, if you guys have seen the making of with The Mandalorian, all that kind of stuff, where you have the great big screens that project your Unreal environment, and the actors go out on stage and they do their part, and this whole idea of compositing in camera using Unreal projections and feeding back real time any kind of camera tracking motion that the DOP does into the Unreal environment, etc., etc. Yeah, that's the big plan. You know, that's the big implementation of what we're talking about here. We're starting relatively small. And one of the things that oftentimes appears in a production is a visual effects supervisor might say, hey, I need to just prototype this one effect. I just want to figure out what I need to deal with in terms of what am I going to have for CG lights, what am I going to have for practical lights, where am I going to put the camera, what kind of lens conditions do we have, what kind of physical limitations on set are we going to have. I need to think about all of that. So in that particular case, there's nothing better than getting inside of Unreal Engine. Now, oftentimes I'll provide two solutions. One is the classic traditional concept art, right? So I'll do a quick thumbnail sketch, quick photo bash to say this is what you're dealing with. The problem with, it's perfectly fine. It's worked for years. It still works, right? But the problem with just a flat 2D plane concept piece is you can't suddenly go, well, what if we put the camera over here? Because then invariably what I'll have to do is, okay, give me a couple of hours, I'll go back to my desk and I'll redraw that. And I'll come and show the artwork again, and then they'll say, actually, can you give me half a dozen different camera angles? And you go back and you do your digital painting and all that kind of stuff. And that's the traditional workflow, right? But with prototyping in a virtual environment, obviously you can just swing the camera around wherever you want. Now, how you manipulate the camera and the lights is up to you. You can use the VR headset, or what's called an HMD head-mounted display, or you can use a gamepad, or you can use, in this case, an iPad, and then just move the camera around. The disadvantage, though, of that is that you can't deal with the high level of visual quality that you can get from a concept piece. So, what's the better solution? There isn't one. It's a happy marriage of the two, right? So eventually what will happen is we'll prototype this virtual environment. Visual Effects Supervisor will go, yeah, that's the camera I want. These lights will be great. Can you finalize that shot for me? And then I do a screen capture. I take that back to my desk and do a paint over and make it look beautiful and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's loosely the process. And this is, again, just specifically targeting virtual production techniques for pre-visualization. It came in handy as well because you can drop live plates inside of Unreal. Right? So let's say by the time a shoot day comes up and they have to do a particular shot and nobody's really made a decision on the final look of an effect or what have you, believe me, that happens quite a lot. They may go ahead and shoot the plate with a loose idea of what effect that they want, and I can drop that plate like within an hour. I can drop that plate inside of Unreal, and we can try a few things with 3D objects and with Niagara and things like that, and just sit back and take a look and have a discussion over it. So that's loosely what we're gunning for here. Wow, I really did not mean to kind of jump in here and take you through this initializing process. But, there you have it. I think one of the things about Twitch streams, unlike YouTube videos, is it's more like a ham radio broadcast, where it's all just about information out there in the ether. Whereas with a YouTube video, I can take this video footage, salvage it, go back to my desk, put it in Premiere or DaVinci Resolve, cut it, add music, make it a little bit more entertaining. Right? But there you have it. So the big issue that I want to kind of investigate is why Unreal Engine's Live Link functionality was not connecting properly with my iPad. That's what I'm kind of doing here. I know, I've got an idea. How about we yeah, let's go back to that one video. There we go. Yeah, we might as well watch this bad boy while the project here is connecting. All right. At least this way I can talk through some of this. Ta-da. All right. Skip that advert. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about, okay, so this is a good idea. How about we come back here and talk about where the storyboarding process falls down, right? So now this is a great establishing shot, right? So, and we've got some initial light value, right? Indicating light direction and things like that, right? Now, a couple of the considerations that may sort of arise will be things like, well, what is the live plate? So this might be a location. It might be like an abandoned hospital or some sort of building or location in the city. But it might, the front of it might have a parking lot, right? So, we do a concept piece like this and say, you know what, we can probably create some sort of CG environment with stairs and things like that. But then the question becomes, well, is it a locked off camera or is it a camera moving? If the camera's moving, then if it's a locked off camera, then there might be a way of doing this with, let's say the stairs might be a set build inside a studio, and then there might be a big green screen in the background showing the actor going up the stairs, and then the building itself could be a matte painting. It's possible, right? But then if the camera moves, there's going to be parallax with these foreground objects and the hills here. So are we going to have to create that in CG? More than likely we'll have to. Also, how does the background fall off how do these hills fall off towards the background? So do they curve away from camera and then drop? And if that's the case, can we do something in the background? What is all this stuff as well? Can we do 2D plates of forests and trees? If we've got parallax with camera movement, we might have to think of something else. We might be able to do like 2D trees as sort of a billboard in the background with a few sort of speed trees in the foreground, just to give a little bit of 3D parallax if there's a camera movement. But that way we're not using too many 3D trees to kind of eat up render time and things like that. That kind of a thing, right? So if we do have a camera movement going from left to right, we might not be able to get away with a matte painting for the building. We might have to see like a little bit more perspective on that building. So if that's the case, we're probably going to have to model it. Then if we do model it, how are we going to model it? Are we going to model it and texture it, or are we going to just build simple geometry and do nuke-based projections on the side? So just projecting photographs on it. What are we going to do? So a lot of this stuff can be answered inside of Unreal. Let's keep going with this. Okay, so here we go. We can make some decisions now about this particular shot. Let's just say we're looking at a 2D animatic for a live action production, right? Okay, so what do we build? Do we build the throne? Well, we're going to have to, because the actor directly interacts with that throne. Well, you could get away with a CG throne, but it would be better. It would be better if we built that throne, right? So that would be a set piece. We would definitely have to build the floor. That would be ideal, right? Now, we could set green screen on all of this stuff, but we've got an angle change here. So we've got this segment of open windows going this way, and then we have a back wall, right? So maybe we build one of those and green screen the other side. Do we build all of this, right? Because it's not going that high, right? So maybe 12-foot high set, that's possible as well. We could build the whole thing, right? And then obviously CG elements for the background. Or could be a projected photograph on screens in the background, right? Because the projected screens will have a resolution mismatch, so it would be slightly blurry, but you'd be blurring that anyway with the depth of field sort of thing. So you can do that. And if it doesn't turn out, we have nice geometric shapes for the windows anyway, so it's a no-brainer to be able to mask it out and cut it out and put whatever we want in the background there. But the benefit of having perhaps a screen there with the elements that we want printed on it is that it helps the actors with their performance. Right? That's one of the big things. It may affect lighting a little bit as well. So those are some considerations off the top of my head. So this cut to this shot indicates to me, yes, we would have to build that throne, right? Because now we're cutting to a close-up of the actor sitting on the throne, and you definitely don't want a CG throne that close to audience scrutiny. pretty crazy. I decided to put this Unreal project here on the local drive, but it seems to be taking just as long. So I'm a bit curious as to what's going on. So this is where we left off from earlier. That was a great background switch. That was cool. Very simple colors, but enough to sort of sell the idea of two teams facing off against each other. That was nicely animated, that character's dialogue. It was really, really well done. So good, man. Like I said, this is a real high quality, professional quality animatic. So that's cool. Yeah, that dropped a few days ago, I think. But a super fun piece. It's actually made me curious about what's his name, the YouTuber here, Sadist or Sadist. Very curious. I'm going to go back and investigate some of the other pieces that he's animated, or she. Right? So that's kind of cool. Okay. So, I don't know what's going on with my Unreal, guys. I was all kind of eager to dive in, and it just seems to... It shouldn't be taking this long for a blank template project. So, I'm just going to do a little bit of troubleshooting here. So, we've put this guy on our media drive, right, under... so, we've gone into our global media drive under prototypes. So in here, yeah, it's building the project. It's a bit unusual that it's taking this long. Man, I really did not want to start my Monday this way, but we're just going to have to soldier through, I think. It's a bit on the crazy side. All right. So, I mean, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later on, but I might as well sort of chat about it now because I think it might be interesting for you guys, and it's better than staring at this what appears to be frozen screen, but I know it's working on something. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the pace of working in television or in film, right? So to kind of give you a little bit of context, if we take a look at oh, I'm just checking my stats here. Right, it looks like I've had some skipped frames. So yeah, something resource-wise is going on. But, you know, let me check that out first, because I think if we have something happening resource-wise that's choking things up, it's worth investigating. No, we're okay. We're at 97% CPU utilization. 68% of it is Unreal Editor. Oh, the shader compile worker's doing its thing. Yeah, okay. But it looks like it is working away. We're getting data being written to the drive. So It's not frozen per se. It's just maxing out the CPU. I wonder if there's some way we can free up resources for this. So Streamlabs is eating up 5%. And I don't. Let's compiler. What have I got on my Explorer? It's just that, right? Let's get rid of. Let's close all of Explorer now. Microsoft Edge in general. Most Microsoft projects are notorious resource hogs. Oh, we're jumped up to 75%. I don't know if that was related to me closing down Internet Explorer, but it would not surprise me if that was the case. Microsoft products tend to, they're like BMW drivers on the road. Microsoft products tend to think that they own the Windows operating system. They'll just eat up all the resources, forget anybody else waiting in line. 91%. Okay, we're finally getting somewhere. Again, apologies for this, guys. If you were expecting me to drop back in with a blockbuster Twitch stream, it hasn't really been that today, has it? It's fallen a bit flat, but there we go. Okay. Man, now maybe we can do some testing. I'm glad this has happened here at home and not in the studio. That would be rather embarrassing. Right. Okay, so there's a few different things. Let's manage our plugins. So I'm going to move my plugins folder because there's a few that we're going to need to make sure are active. It's compiling shaders at the minute for me, and I'm going to update the project, so that's cool. A few different things. Let's pop down to our virtual production. Oh, okay, so let me talk a little bit about the plugins folder, because sometimes it's a little bit... Sorry. Sometimes it's a little bit confusing, right? So we've got categories. We've got our installed plugins, which, self-explanatory. And then there are a bunch of built-in plugins, right, which are not really built in. They're plugins that are available for you. You just have to activate them, right? So let's pop over to our virtual production and make sure that we have our... the one thing that I do want to have enabled is the take recorder, which is enabled. This allows us to record any of the cameras that we set up. Virtual production utilities, that's good. Virtual cameras, good. I went through and ticked on a bunch of the ones that I thought I would need, like a composite plane. But you know what? I'm just going to make sure the bare minimum is ready to go. So I'm going to take a look at the virtual reality plugins. I don't think I need those. Steam VR and Oculus VR enabled, so that's fine. There is one called UDP messaging that I'm going to check. And this has to do with, let's find it. Unless UDP, let's take a look. UDP. There you go. UDP messaging. Well, it's enabled anyway, right? So I think I'm blind. Couldn't find it here. And I want to make sure composure for compositing is also activated, right? So that's activated. Lens distortion, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it looks like all the default plugins have come ready to go, right? So let's see. A few things I'm going to do here. I'm going to get rid of the... Actually, let's leave the backdrop because I got rid of it last time. That may have had some kind of a knock-on effect. This is all grayed out because it's still compiling shaders. We got like 6,000 shaders to compile. That's pretty crazy. So I'm now going to pop over into my project settings and take a look at a few things there. Right? So remember, I haven't done anything. I've just opened up a default virtual production Unreal project template and just checked to make sure my plugins were turned on. Right? So let's go to project settings. Now, this is the one thing that we have to set very, very carefully. So let's go back to the old iPad, right? So we've got our IP address plugged in there. So let's come over into our project settings and we'll head down to, let's check our UDP messaging, right? So inside the UDP messaging, we are looking for this unicast endpoint, right? Now, I know it's really counterintuitive labeling, but this is where we stick in our IP address, right? So that's 192.168.1.11, and then a colon for our port and port 0. Now, where do you find your IP address? Well, I'm going to hit the Windows key, and I'm going to type the word CMD, which will bring up the command prompt, right? So when I bring up the command prompt, you'll get this, what's called the command line interface, or a CLI, right? And I know people's brains tend to turn off when they see anything that looks sort of like a computer hacker or programmer and dealing with text windows, right? But all you got to do is type in ipconfig, and that will give you, there we go. I have a different, oh yeah, I'm on the upstairs computer. So we've got a different IP configuration, right? So you're looking for the IPv4 address, this guy here. Now you can always go ipconfig \all, the /all. The / is called a flag. That flag means you can tell ipconfig to do specific things. So you're basically saying, okay, I want you to give me the IP config, but I want you to do this and this and this and this while you're doing it. So those are flags. And this one flag, /all is, yeah, give me my IP config, but I want you to give me all of them, just not the default, right? So this will go through and it'll give you everything related to the IP configuration for your computer, right? So again, the IPv4 is there, and that is what we're after, right? So the only change is 168.1.4, so we'll pop that in here. So we're looking for that IP address there, right? So I'm going to make that change over here as well. There we go. So I don't believe we need to wait for the shaders, because that's another sort of structure. And the code would be separate from this. So I'm going to come over to my Windows in Unreal and then click on Live Link. Right? So this Live Link plugin will give me an indication of what Unreal is trying, or who Unreal is trying to communicate with. Right? I'm going to come into my iPad app, and I'm just going to tap the connect button. This is what I was talking about earlier. All it says is connecting. You've got no idea if it's done a handshake or if it's successfully found this. You don't know, right? The editor setting use less CPU when in background is currently enabled. This will stop editor windows from updating in real time while the editor is not in focus. Use less CPU. Yeah, let's disable that. Okay. It found it. Aha, so I have an issue with the computer downstairs. Yes, yes. This is the one sticking point. It has stopped me testing the virtual production suite. It has stopped me, and on a number of occasions, testing the Live Link with Maya. Man, I wish there was a different way of sorting this out. So I'm going to connect to that. So that is my active camera. I'm going to move the Live Link window up here, just so I have access to it. You know what? Actually, I'm going to move this into my second monitor over there, right, so I can see it. Now, I believe we do need a Cinecamera actor. That's the virtual Cinecamera actor. But I want to see if this connects straight out of the box, right? So I'm just going to hit play. And it does not, right? So this indicates to me that we need to drag in a virtual camera actor, right? So we'll do that. Let's close these guys up. Now over here we've got our virtual production suite. I've got virtual camera 2 actor. I believe the simple virtual camera actor was the first version, and it's been what's called deprecated, right? So that means that they've left it, but it's the old version. So let's drag in this guy. I'm trying to work on this, and the shaders are still compiling. I really shouldn't, but I've made you guys wait while Unreal Engine was initializing, so I don't want to do that anymore. All right, so we got a virtual camera actor. There we go. So that's in play. Now, if we press play, we should get that structure available for us. We do, but it is not sending over. I'm going to move the sequencer window down here. Now, ideally, I should be seeing a screen appear on my iPad, but it is not appearing, right? But we've crossed that one bridge. We've got a connection. We've got a connection. I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to pop over to the documentation real quick, right? So let me come over here. And we'll go to Unreal Engine, Virtual Production. Here was the quick start. Let's take a look at this. All right, so virtual production field guide, no. So we're in here. Why did it not take me directly to the documentation? All right, let's pop down here. This will be fun to explore, I think. So, virtual production hub. Pop in here. Okay. Yeah, I got that. I know about that. Okay. So, oh, there we go. Unreal Engine documentation. That's what I'm after. Okay. So, let's take a quick look here. What time are we at? We are at 12 o'clock. All right. So, where is the building virtual worlds? No, that's not it. So, you know what? I'm just going to go to Unreal Virtual Production Scouting. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 second. I'll be right back. Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay, so I'll be like 2 minutes, wrap up. Yep. Okay, I'm back in. Just having a quick look. Now, the interesting thing is, let's check our live link window here. Right? So we're in here, and we've got our base interpolation going to the iPad using live link. That's connecting. We're manipulating camera transforms. That's all fine. So what I'm not understanding is that this should then suddenly show me my virtual camera 2 actor, and it's not doing that at the moment, right? So I'm just trying to determine why that's the case. So let's pop back over into the virtual scouting overview. I believe this one had a quick start. Let's go into the, no, that's not this one. The virtual production. Where is it now? Where is it? Let's see if we can find it in the virtual cameras documentation. There we go. Virtual camera actor quick start. Okay. So I popped into this particular. There's a lot of documentation about virtual production, so you sort of have to hunt through to find exactly what you need. But I walked you through most of this. The setting of the 8-bit RGBA video frame buffer might be the issue, actually. So what's happening is this iPad can't draw what Unreal's trying to send to it, because it's probably sending a frame buffer pixel format that's very, very high resolution, right? So let me go to the project settings and the rendering settings, right? So let's pop in there. So let's take a look at what's going on. So in the project settings, let's go to rendering, and we will pop into let's see if we can bring it up in here. Hey, rendering. So, where are you? Is that right? So, we want to go into, we edited our UDP messaging inside our project settings. Under default settings, section under default settings, and we want to adjust the frame buffer pixel format. So that's what I want. Let's see if we can dial into it. Frame buffer pixel. There we go. Yeah, so it's a 10-bit RGB, right? We want an 8-bit RGBA, right? I'm gonna have to restart. You know what? This is a good opportunity for me to leave you guys for another 10 minutes. I got a dude here that needs to measure the windows, and I gotta go grab some lunch. What I'll probably do is I'll stop this broadcast and restart it under the virtual production heading. There's a lot of guff in this particular stream today, so I'll redo this, but I'll just get right into the virtual production stuff. So it's short and sweet. So those of you who want to kind of review it back later, you can get to the version